All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. You are here with Tom and George. Hello, George.
Hello. La, la, la.
Today was a brutal day. So, red day across the board. Bitcoin down. Every single Bitcoin miner down a lot. It was a rough week. We're going to go through all the stuff we go through. But I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm going to have some optimism. I know that people are getting tired of hearing it, but I got some articles. I got some stuff that there's optimism out there. We may have to wait a little bit, but I know that this week was brutal. So welcome, everybody. If you could do us a giant favor and smash the like button, it does help the stream out in real time. So if you're watching live, if you could please smash the like button. If you're watching later, welcome. Enjoy the show. And you can smash the like button as well.
So, Tom, what do you think the sell-off is from?
Well, I it's a couple of things. The market got wrecked today. Maybe we should start there. You can see this. The S&P was down 1.7%. The Dow was down 1.7%. The NASDAQ was down 2.2%. And the Russell was down 2.9%. So, of course, our Bitcoin mining stocks are most closely associated to the Russell, and they got beat up. That got beat up the worst. Today was a horrible day in the market. There was all kinds of bogus, made-up excuses. This was just a good old-fashioned Friday sell-off, in my opinion. We get these. Bitcoin had a little bit more specific of a situation. Cryptocurrency universe suffered a gigantic hack. And I do think that took out, all the cryptocurrency today had a rough day. So we'll talk about that. According to this one article, it's the largest hack in history. So I haven't independently verified that. Pessimistic Frank said, brutal? Ha ha ha. This was brutal. This was brutal. Miners are done because I said they come back. Well, and we're going to talk about this. A lot of people are leaving the miners behind for dead. There's just no doubt about it. I have an article that specifically talks about the Bitcoin miners that I'm going to go through later because I think just what this article is talking about, I think people are getting lulled. They're missing the big picture in a big way. And I still do think, and I know today is the wrong day to say this when everything got wrecked. I still think there's big runs in this. Now, this is not financial advice, and some people will yell at me for saying it's not financial advice because you're sick of hearing it, but it's important to understand. You guys got to do your own due diligence because we have days like today. Today was a train wreck. If you're not used to this volatility, if you don't understand that the Bitcoin mining stocks could be down 10% in one day out of left field, could be up 10% in one day, 20%. We've seen there was a day, I'll show you this within the last month, where there were some that were down 30% in one day. So the volatility is real. Please understand this industry, the cryptocurrency industry, if you're doing crypto, the Bitcoin miners, if you're investing in the Bitcoin miners. But I do think ultimately, I still believe they're going to go, in my opinion, multiples higher from where they are right now. So today was a beatdown. I mean, this was not fun. And 2025 now is, we're 1 2/3 months into this year. And it has not started out properly, in my opinion. And one of the things George said to me, tell me what you said right before we went on.
I'm selling everything?
No. Your time frame.
I think everything just got pushed back by 3 months.
So George was telling me that before, and it's really kind of exactly what I have in my head. And that's what I think they're doing to us. Pessimistic Frank, thank you for the super chat, and thanks for being a member. Honorary post for the day of six-figure gains. Rest in peace. I hope those days are still ahead of us, Pessimistic Frank. I know it wasn't today. There could have been some people with six-figure losses today. I know I got taken to the cleaners today. Not just my Bitcoin mining stocks. I don't think I had one green stock today. So those days happen. Today was one of them. There's not a lot of buyers. So they're not even having to short these stocks. They're already heavily shorted, but because there's a lack of buyers, the Bitcoin mining stocks are just being forgotten in the short term. But I do believe it's the big money that rotates in and out of these and dictates the switch. The switch will flip, in my opinion, and it will be when the bigger money decides that it's time. So clearly that was not today. Today, everything just drifted down on low to medium volume. So when you see a day like today, it is pretty discouraging. There's just no buyers out there. Manny said, I'm not leaving. So for those of you who are still here, for those of you who still believe in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin miners specifically have been having a rough time of it. Altcoin season has clearly been put on hold. If you guys remember, 2 to 3 months ago, the narrative was, we're days away from altcoin season. And mostly that talk peaked in December. Like if you're not too late, you're about to be. And, now we're a couple of months down the road, and I'm seeing the opposite. It feels to me like everything, even a lot of the altcoins, we'll take a look at some of them. Some of the big ones are, having a pullback. And then a couple of them looked like they were going to maybe turn around. Now, today might be an anomaly based on this hack. Let's get to that. Because I do think that had a big impact on a lot of these, and we'll see if that sorts itself out over the weekend. And some of this was just panic. Some of it starts to be liquidations, as people panic. So let's get to what happened. Okay. Bitcoin and Ethereum slump as crypto prices dip on report of massive $1.5 billion Bybit hack. The move happened as crypto exchange Bybit saw a sudden $1.5 billion worth of ETH outflow. Crypto prices dropped on Friday on crypto exchange Bybit, enduring a security incident. Bitcoin slid nearly 97, while ETH slipped nearly 4%, dipping below 2,700. Bybit saw a $1.5 billion Ethereum outflow in a hacker attack, Bybit CEO later confirmed. So this is a confirmed attack. Cryptocurrency prices dropped on Friday, reversing earlier gains. So we were headed in the right direction. And then, wham, a couple of things happened. When the market opened and the market tanked, the market did not tank because of this. The market couldn't care less about this. $1.5 billion worth of Ethereum is couch cushion money for the stock market. So that tanked on its own. That was going to hurt the Bitcoin miners in specific, especially with the Russell being the worst performer out of all of them. I'm going to interrupt myself. We have 30 likes. We're going for goal number 1 is 100 likes. So if you're there, if you just joined us, if you haven't hit the like button, we would really appreciate it. It helps the stream out in real time, especially as everybody is fading away and losing interest in the Bitcoin miners. There's a few things I want to show people that there's a big misunderstanding out there about the Bitcoin miners. And I have, people in my life that know that, this is something that I'm interested in, keep coming to me with the same argument. And they see, I saw this. They keep texting me articles, and it's like, I don't have time to debunk the amount of FUD that is going on out there right now. And that just means that they're suppressing the price of Bitcoin in my mind.
I wouldn't normally point out something, but I put that in there. You know, anytime you swear and stuff like that, it has to be posted. I don't care what you say. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't bother me any.
What they take it away?
Yeah. Somebody else deleted it before. It just doesn't bother me. I like knowing what the sentiment is of people, you know. I mean, but it hurts, Tom. This hurts. This one hurts. I'm just not going to tell you anything different.
I think this hurts too, because I really, I've been talking for the last month that, the next 90 to 100 days, I think we're going to be very important. I thought we would see the next move up, and we very well still might. But it does feel like they're bringing opportunity. They're creating a lot of FUD. The amount of negative articles, I don't want to say misinformation, but to me, surrounding, I'm going to show you some. Let's switch right away to some good news. Let me find it. Because this is what
you.
Go ahead.
I don't even think that we've even talked about what's going on, by the way, yet. I think this has more to do with the potential release of the Epstein list than anything else.
Oh, that's right. That's pending. So while the market's panicking, the market, I'm not going to say crashed today, but it had a really bad day today. Here's what's going on, big picture. So CEO confidence hits 3-year high amid optimism on labor market and economy. So chief executives haven't been this confident in their business outlook in 3 years. Data released Thursday showed the conference board's measure of CEO confidence increased by 9 points in the first quarter. In the first quarter of 2025 to a reading of 60, its highest level in 3 years. The conference board added that the move above 50 indicates a shift from cautious optimism to confident optimism among business leaders. And this is a survey that is of 134 U.S. CEOs. And it was conducted between January 27th and February 10th. So this is recent data. You've got CEOs moving to confident optimism in what's coming. And you've got all this other FUD out there that everything's a disaster and the tariffs are going to end the world and the wars are going to end the world and inflation's going to spiral out of control and the job market's going to tank. And, every bad narrative they can throw at us, in my opinion, they are just throwing it at us as hard as they can right now to push this market down. And still the market, hit a new all-time high at one point this week.
Yeah, I know. I was just like this. They're so good.
People need to pay attention to this because these are, and remember, these CEOs, like they do quarterly reports, they have to have conference calls, they do forecasts, and they are held to account, right? If they miss their forecasts, their stocks get wrecked. So, these aren't just like feel good numbers. This is, and obviously no one thing is a guarantee, but nobody's talking about this, right? There is good news out there. There are very good things happening. How about when everybody gets a giant check in the mail? What do you think's going to happen to the market? Well, the last 2 times that happened, the market went into the small cap, especially stocks like, for those of you, I know a lot of you are here for Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and cryptocurrency. Every time we start getting stimulus packages, those things go ballistic into a potential bubble. So, all of a sudden now, where there's talk about some big stimulus packages, and they're not even stimulus packages. They're kind of what they're saying, for those of you who don't know, is, listen, we're going to cut the budget, and, the Doge, which a lot of people are angry about, is saving potentially, a trillion or trillions of dollars. So they're saying, hey, the American people are the ones who paid this in. We got to give some of it back.
I know. It's so sad to hear what some people are saying about that. And it's just, hopefully they're talking out their butt.
A lot of people are angry. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs, and that's hard and that's unfortunate. But, we have a very bloated government, in my opinion, and, we got to do the right thing. I mean, you only have to watch. They're being very transparent. They're showing you, here's where the money went. We don't need to do this. We're taking some of it back. We got to stop the madness. So, I mean,
But I mean,
we're
to me, it
$37
just-
trillion later. We have to stop the madness.
I just don't even know. I mean, to me, it just seems like it's too late, but I guess it's not.
I mean, when you hear a number like $37 trillion in debt, it starts to feel like, well, it doesn't really matter what we do now. It is too late, but it's not necessarily too late. We have, a very big GDP, and there's a lot of efforts we can take. It's a momentum situation. We have built momentum moving in the wrong direction, doing the wrong thing. So the first thing you have to do to start running the other way is stop running the way that you're running. So that's number one. They got to stop doing what they're doing and then start doing the right thing. And, that's not going to solve the problem overnight. We're going to have debt in this country probably forever at this point. But if we can lower it very slowly as we raise GDP, then that debt to GDP ratio is going to get better and better and better. And that's what we need to focus on. And we need to start now. It's already, as George said, it feels too late. But it's not. That's the equation. That's the equation that, in my mind, people should be looking at. Can we slowly lower our debt? First, we have to balance the budget. Good luck. We haven't done that in decades. And then we have to start lowering debt and in a thriving economy where GDP is going up. And if that can happen, 20 years from now, we may be having a very different conversation. I know that sounds like it's forever away, but 20 years from now is coming. For those of you who have children or grandchildren, that's going to be their world. So we got to fix it. That's my opinion. Let's see what you guys think.
I'm going to tell you something. AI is changing this world. AI is just absolutely positively amazing. All I've been doing is programming today, and it is, I'm telling you, when you can take multiple AI programs and you find out one's better than this and one's better than that, it is just absolutely amazing time to be alive, because once we get through this little hiccup, I think the United States will be back on a great track.
I have taken, some of which, because you've been kind of pounding the table on it, but I have started to take a bunch of my time each day and start to learn how to use the AI as a tool, because it's I'll be honest. I mean, I abandoned ship. When it first came out, I tested it and asked it some accounting type questions and some other questions, and it was more wrong than right. And to me, I was like, this is garbage. I mean, it's garbage in, garbage out. But I have to say, over the last couple of weeks of just trying to learn how to use the tool, it's leaps and bounds. It's so much more accurate and balanced, and it's smarter. It's a lot smarter than it was 6 or 8 months ago. It's a night and day. So you still got to do your own. I'll say the same thing with your AI. You can't just rely on it, blindly. but man, does it give you a head start.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It's a game changer.
I mean, and the prices though for data has to come down for storage. Because I mean, it's just so expensive. I'm working on just so you guys know, I've been working on, well, I stopped, I got far, and then I quit, and then I started up again, working on an alternative to TikTok. Because I think now, I think it's owned by Meta.
Just trying to read some of the comments. People are skeptical. People have the lowest amount of money to spend in a very long time. So that is one of the things that's why these, whether you want to call a stimulus package or a credit or a return or a refund, and I see Sour Melon Gaming saying, Tom, do you think the Doge checks will actually come? So I think, yes, I think there's a exceptionally high probability that the checks are coming. Now, they came out of the box and started talking about $5,000 checks or $5,200 checks. So it may not be that, but I think you can, I feel extremely confident that there will be checks that come in 2025, checks that come in 2026, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I think that's almost a lock at this point. So what do you think the U.S. debt is too big and it's too late? 63% are saying yes, it's too big and it's too late to fix.
Well, I think it's how to explain this. I think the current model, we can't fix it. We have to change the model. Whatever that means, I don't know. Does that make sense, Tom, what I'm saying?
Yes. And I'm seeing a lot of comments on that are political, so I'm going to just let you guys have that out with yourselves. I don't want to get political on here. Obviously, politics does affect our investing, so you know it's not to be ignored. But so feel free to discuss amongst yourselves. But I'm not going to.
Oh, I don't know what anybody's saying.
Dale is saying economic report was really bad, so you can imagine what your pride is going to cost you guys. You're better off buying in when miners have went past their 52-week high. So I don't think the economic data has been that bad. And I know everybody, that's the narrative that's being painted. So thank you, Dale, for the comment. Appreciate it. Everyone's panicking over these tiny data points that are, to me, I always try to look at the data point, and the first thing I ask myself, is this within the margin of error? Is this within the margin of error to where when they adjust it next month, it could be the reverse result? And the answer most times is yes. So inflation in the United States historically over the last, I don't remember if it was 40 or 70 years, the average rate of inflation has been 3.2%. So we've been under that for the better part of a year now. Yes, the Fed's target rate is lower than that, but reality over a generation is this is where inflation is at. Our problem was we had a couple of years with, I don't want to say hyperinflation, but dramatically higher inflation numbers. So now, once that happens, it doesn't get undone. So when you get back to regular inflation, your groceries still cost too much money. We actually need the price of groceries to come down. And I think they're going to try to work towards that. The price of everything can't come down, but I do think they need to get the price of fuel, right? Energy and groceries, the price needs to come down. So, and I think inflation is the last thing they should be worried about. There's a long list of other things ahead of that. And I don't think the data has been too bad, really. We've had some very good data points. A lot of neutral data points, a lot that it's hard, or that are close enough to where it's like, we'll have to wait and see which way it goes. Let's end out this poll. It's fluctuated anywhere from 50 to 65% think that the debt problem is unfixable.
Do you think it's fixable, Tom?
I do. I do think it's fixable, but fixable, the way I defined it. I don't think we're going to get rid of it. I think step one is we got to balance a budget. I don't know, when that's going to happen. Step two is we then have to start reducing the debt by small amounts. If we can reduce the debt by a small amount every year while we grow the economy, then that debt to GDP ratio is going to fix itself and we'll be fine. Yes, it's awful that we're at 36 or 37 billion dollars. This has spiraled to a place that is just irresponsibly horrible. But this is where we are. So, we can turn this has been doubling every 4 to 8 years. So are we going to be talking about $70 trillion of debt, 10 years from now, or are we going to be talking about $33 trillion of debt? That's night and day. Because, unless something happens, we will continue to grow the economy and we'll be able to manage that. It'll be less and less expense of our overall budget. It's another reason interest rates have to come down, because it's a disproportionate interest expense on our debt is disproportionate because the Fed has kept rates so high for so long. I think the Fed has just been way, way too conservative in lowering rates. So that's just my opinion. I think they need to do a lot more. Jerome Powell, he's got one more year of doing this, and then the next person's going to come in. But I'm hoping he fixes it on his watch. I don't think it's malicious. I just think he's very conservative, and he's afraid. He's terrified, as people on the Fed tend to be. They're terrified of inflation.
I will disagree.
What do you think?
I'm not going to use that word. All I know is, if you guys watch anything about like the Federal Reserve and you guys keep track of who does what, right? So there's a guy named Ben Bernanke. Do you remember him, Tom?
Absolutely. Kidding me?
They gave a $500 billion loan to Europe. And when he was asked who he gave the money to, he just simply said, I don't know. And I watched the testimony in front of Congress. And they're like, well, don't you need our permission to do that? No. It's within my purview of my responsibilities. And ever since that person has been a Fed leader, I would say that it's just been screwed up.
I feel like, Ben Bernanke got us through some very difficult times. And sometimes, the Treasury Department, the Fed, and by the way, now the Doge Department wants to audit the Fed.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck. I don't think that will happen, by the way.
But, we've had we had a financial crisis, and the Treasury Secretary basically went and asked for $700 billion, and Congress laughed him out of the building. Within 3 days of that, our bank stocks were trading as penny stocks. There was a run on the bank. There was a run on the market. It was crashing. The Federal Reserve had to open the window and just tell all the banks, you have access to all the money you want in the world. So $700 billion turned into that. $700 billion would have, I think, mitigated massively that crisis. But instead, the wheels came off, and the rest of that is history. That was way back in 2008, I think.
But I just think that the people I feel bad for are the Gen Z. Is that the most recent generation?
There's Gen Z, and then behind that, there's Generation Alpha.
Okay, well, one of those
Both of them.
I mean, because it's just too many people have had their hands in the cookie jar for far too long. How about that? Is that a good enough? Is that a good statement?
I think everybody or most people would agree with that statement. We've got to stop doing what we're doing.
I don't think it will. I just think, I don't know. It's just if we don't get on blockchain, it won't be fixed.
The first thing that has to happen is a lot more transparency. And that's what I think is happening right now, right? We're learning things and seeing things happen that, we're not used to seeing. My default has always been, I'll believe it when I see it, because we never end up, we're going to release this document, or we're going to uncover that, or and nothing ever happens, and nobody ever, but we'll see. This time does feel like it has a chance to be different, where actions have already started. So, and action has to happen. You may agree with it or disagree with it, but we can't do nothing, and we can't just keep doing what we're doing, because it's not working. And I think everybody would agree. We may disagree on what to do next, but I think everybody would agree that what we're doing isn't working.
Mm-hmm. No, but I mean, when you look at, I don't want you guys to think that I'm not a capitalistic person, but when you look at the capitalistic where we're at right now, you can't have the concentration of wealth that we currently have.
Yeah, it's
just not fair anymore. Does that make sense? And it's not because of capitalism. It's because I believe I'm just going to shut my mouth.
Well,
but you know what I'm saying? I mean, does that make sense?
You only have to look at the stock market. Look at the top 10 companies in the stock market.
Yeah.
There are multiples. We have $3 trillion market cap companies. I mean, they're multiples of what they were 10 years ago. It's insanity. So yes, there has, and we had a period of time. I don't know if we're allowed to say the word anymore, but when the virus shut the world down, a lot of small businesses, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of small businesses went out of business, and the biggest businesses thrived in that environment. So,
well, I mean, it's kind of weird that COVID affected the little businesses, but not the big businesses. Like, you could go to Walmart, but you couldn't go to like the local grocery store.
It's right. The bottom line is, yes, there has been a wealth seems to be consolidating, and the middle class in the United States anyway seems to be dissipating. And that's a trend that's got to reverse.
But I don't think it's possible. And I think with programs, here I go again. I think with programs like Aladdin, I don't think the stock market wasn't set up to be the way it is.
Well, first of all, the stock market is gigantic. And then when you count all the derivative products, there's just so much money, it's inconceivable. And there's pools of money that are so big that they can dictate things. It's one of the reasons that, the stocks like the Bitcoin companies that we follow can be so easily manipulated, because they are, relatively speaking, small companies. And, when you have all these different pools of money, $1 trillion here, $9 trillion there, $11 trillion there, I mean, it's everywhere you turn. People can affect. We should take a look. Let's switch gears for a minute and take a look at what did happen this week to the Bitcoin miners, because we haven't talked about that. So let's look at the charts, which are updated through the end of the day today. And it's ugly. This was an awful week. So warning. You're about to see is ugly. Okay, so this is from the close last Friday to the close this Friday. Bitcoin was down 2%. Okay, not a big deal. Bitcoin, let's be honest, Bitcoin's in consolidation mode. It's been going sideways in a pretty tight range for a long time. So up 2%, down 2%. That's not so worrisome. Look at what the Bitcoin miners did. Bitfarms was the big winner, if you can believe that, because by over the last year and a half, they are by far the big loser. They're in last place by a mile. We'll look at 2024. But this week, down 7% was the best any of these stocks did. You can see this grouping down between 12 and 15 or 16%, and then BitDeer, a little bit of an outlier, down 21%. But down 12 to 15 or 16% when Bitcoin's down 2%. That is unjustified. It's unwarranted. It's not like it's balancing out some massive run they had taken to the upside earlier. No, this is just horrible, horrible price action on the Bitcoin miners. But to George's point, I think they're dragging this out, and I know it, and I can see it, and you can look in the comments. People have every day a whole new group of people gives up on the Bitcoin miners and sells at their local lows and sells for a loss. And who do you think's buying that stuff?
Well, did you see the post on X from, what's the CEO name of, the chairman of the board for Cleanspark?
Who's their chairman? Matt, Zach?
Yeah, Matt. I think he goes, you start seeing the short interest, but then you see like BlackRock went from like having 2 million shares to like 10, 20 million shares.
Nice. And so I'm glad you brought that up, right? Riot, Marathon, and CleanSpark. The number 1 and 2 holders of stock in those companies are BlackRock and Vanguard. And it's by a mile. So to me, and I understand the other thing is, if you look at almost any Fortune 500 company, the number 1 and 2 shareholders are BlackRock and Vanguard. So, that's not uncommon, but I don't think they're putting all their money in there to lose money. And BlackRock, has an ETF that's...
I don't think they lose money.
Yeah, exactly. So I think long-term, they continue to build their positions, and there's other Bitcoin miners they've been investing in, and I think it's why Bitfarms needs to get itself into the United States, because they are not in the top 5, none of those for Bitfarms, because it's not a U.S. company. But yeah, if we go, let's take a look at HUT. Right, HUT moved from Canada to the United States. And now if you look at their holders, BlackRock and Vanguard, right? 7.7 and 6.9%. These guys were not in the top 5, maybe not even in the top 10 until HUT moved to the United States. So like it or not, this is where the money is. And, between the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, the volume of institutional money is astronomical. So moving your domicile to the U.S., we've been pounding the table for Bitfarms to do that. It's a game changer. Look at how it changed the game for HUT. So let's go through the rest of, let me go through the rest of these charts real quickly. So this is just this week. So if we go year to date, it's not a pretty picture. So now this year, and I've been saying, I think 2025 is going to be a very good year for the Bitcoin miners. So 7 weeks in here, that's not what's happening. You've got a couple of winners, a couple of big winners. Cypher's up, while Bitcoin is up 2%. And like I said, we are in a consolidation. I do think we're going to consolidate. It might take longer than we think, but I think once we break out, I believe the move will be to the upside. But for now, 7 weeks into the year, Bitcoin's up 2%, which is basically sideways. We only have 3 companies above zero. So Cypher is up 18%. That's a really big win when Bitcoin's up 2%. Iron is up 11%, and they got crushed today, and they're still up 11%. Riot's up 2%, which is equal to Bitcoin. You got CleanSpark at 0, and then there's a big jump. All the rest are in the red, and not by a little bit. Right, you got companies down 11, 12, 13%. Core Scientific's down 23% year to date. TeraWulf down 28%. These were the two best performing stocks of 2024, and they're getting beaten up now. So, and BitDeer is a bit of an anomaly. I'm going to go back here and just remind everybody. BitDeer, for no reason that I am aware of, that I could find, and I talked about it all December, while the Bitcoin miners got devastated, right? These are averaging down 30%. BitDeer was up 52%. So I think when you look at year to date this year and you see BitDeer in last place, you have to put that into perspective that it had this insane run up in December that all it's doing is just giving back the month of December. So that number I'm not too worried about. But this chart does not look good. This is the year-to-date chart, and so far the Bitcoin miners are not doing well. Again, if we look at 2024, it was hit or miss, but this is not what we want a Bitcoin miner chart to look like. These are high volatility, high risk stocks. We need to be highly rewarded if Bitcoin is moving up, which it did. It was up 122%, yet we still had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Bitcoin miners that were down on the year. Bitfarms was down almost 50% last year. I mean, these are some bad numbers. Now, 2023 was fantastic. 2022 was a disaster. 2023 was incredible, up 400, 500, 600, 700%. 2024 was a mixed bag. This was rough. I think 2025 is ultimately going to be a good year, but so far it's not doing what, this is not what I expected. This is not what I expected this year to start out like. So it's a disappointing start to the year for me. You know, they're getting us again, and they're getting more people. If you are reading through the comments, you'll see a lot of people have just given up on these stocks. And I want to go to an article where they basically talk about, they say something that I think people don't understand. So let me find it.
Oh, I got to jump on a call.
All
I
right.
got to mute up for a second. Sorry.
When you get back. Okay, this is an article.
Oh.
This is on the street, so probably a lot of you are familiar with that. This is an article. Bitcoin mining will be profitable for at least 12 more years, says Blockware CEO. So if you guys look, and we have this argument all the time, everybody thinks that all the Bitcoin miners are losing money and it's a disaster and it's a nightmare, and it's not true. These companies, number one in particular, they're all very cash flow positive. They're all positive EBITDA. Most of them are now in 2024 having positive results on a GAAP basis. So he's talking about 12 more years of these companies being profitable. And I know there's nobody that's thinking that way. Everybody thinks these companies don't make money. They're never going to make money. The formula doesn't work. But he goes on to explain why he thinks this is true. Looking at historical data, Bitcoin price has outpaced the difficulty growth, and on a running monthly basis, Bitcoin price is about 5% increase. Monthly difficulty is about a 3.14% increase. So really, what needs to happen in the future is mining transactions need to pick up. Miners are making more from fees, or we have a $1 million Bitcoin price rate. But the next 12 years, to me, are super clear. That's what he's saying. So he believes the next 12-year run, and that doesn't mean there won't be ups and downs, but the next 12 years, which is multiple, right? That's 4 halvings, that the Bitcoin miners are going to be profitable. And I think you're going to see more and more, there's winners and losers, and a lot of these companies are going to go away. Right? We used to have 25 companies, then we had 19 companies. Now on my list, I have 12 companies. I'm probably going to take that down to 10 sooner than later. And, you know, we may end up with, it looks to me like there's 6 or 7 that are still really, really legitimately trying to keep up or stay ahead of the curve. And that's what they have to do. And that's what he's talking about right here. So, the other piece of the puzzle is if you're growing your exahash, in excess of what the halvings are doing and the difficulty level is doing, and we see the publicly traded companies. So I'll go to another article. US listed Bitcoin miners are growing their share of the network hash rate. So, right, there's a global network hash rate that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But here's the thing, these companies grew their shares of the Bitcoin network to 29% in January of 2025. And that's up from 20% a year ago. So year over year, that's almost a 50% increase, right? 20% to 30% would be a 50% increase in their share of the global hash rate. So the big companies are getting bigger and they're realizing economies of scale. The other thing that nobody talks about is their machines are getting incredibly more efficient, right? The global network was at like 50 joules per terahash in the last halving. We've got machines now at 13.5 joules per terahash. So, it's using a lot less energy to get the same output. And there's talk of machines with 6 or 7 joules per terahash coming in the next 1 to 2 years. So a lot of things are going in favor of these companies continuing to make money. And I only have to look to CleanSpark. CleanSpark made over $200 million of GAAP income this quarter, and their stock is tanking. It's the best quarter they've ever had. So this just goes to more to less on fundamentals and more on just market momentum and where money is rotating to and from. So the money has rotated out of the Bitcoin miners. They've been forgotten. They've been left behind, left for dead. But I'm showing you a couple of articles here where you can see the big publicly traded Bitcoin miners. They have a bigger share of the global network. So obviously that works to their favor. And then you've got the CEO of Blockware doing the math, basically saying the next 12 years, what does he say, is super clear. It's super clear to him that for the next 12 years, the Bitcoin miners will be profitable. Now, every Bitcoin miner doesn't look the same. A lot of them are venturing into high performance computing and AI, so you may like that or you may not like that. We have now 4 Bitcoin miners that have differentiated themselves with 10,000 or more Bitcoin in their HODL position. So I think those 4 in particular, if Bitcoin does have a giant run up from here, those 4 in particular, I think are really going to explode. They were punished in 2024. It was the Bitcoin miners that talked about AI. They didn't even have to get contracts. If they just talked about it, they were the best performing stocks of 2024. I think you're going to see that script flip in 2025 to where the Bitcoin miners that are hodling 10 or, CleanSpark and HUT have over 10,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Riot has over 18,000 and Marathon has over 45,000. Those are 4 of the top 5 holdings of Bitcoin of any publicly traded company. The only one that's bigger, we all know, is MicroStrategy, or as they now prefer to be referred to, Strategy, same stock ticker, who's coming up on, within a few weeks, it looks like they're going to have 500,000 Bitcoin. And yet we have people, let me go to another one. So to me, this type of stuff is fun. Peter Schiff says Michael Saylor-led Strategy's convertible debt offerings, quote, aren't going well as stock falls despite Bitcoin's gain. So his tweet is, it looks like the new MicroStrategy convertible notes aren't going over too well. Shares are down 4.5% today. So first of all, looking at any one day in any of these stocks, they're so volatile and it's so random that, and 4.5% is a small move for these types of companies. So he says shares are down 4.5% today, even with Bitcoin up 2.5%. When MicroStrategy trades at a discount to its Bitcoin holdings, the game is over. Well, if you do the math, that's not, unless something catastrophic happens to the price of Bitcoin, that's never going to happen. So he's saying when MicroStrategy trades at a discount to its Bitcoin holdings, the game is over, as selling MicroStrategy shares to buy Bitcoin will produce a negative Bitcoin yield. But the thing is, MicroStrategy's book value, I'm going to show you a couple of things. I believe I have these up. Okay, so here's their most recent financial statements, December 31st. So I'm going to look at this a few different ways. The book value of MicroStrategy is $18 million. They have $45 billion worth of Bitcoin. Let me just do a quick. Yeah, like 45-46 billion dollars worth of Bitcoin. So their book value is 18. And so you're not running into a scenario where what he's talking about is going to happen, right? But in all likelihood, unless you think Bitcoin's crashing, right? In all likelihood, Bitcoin's going to continue to go up. I mean, we'll do a poll next, but most people's price target for this cycle is 150 is on the low end for most people. So, at Bitcoin 150,000, I just don't see where. Now, to be fair, Peter Schiff is one of the great Bitcoin haters on the earth. So it is no wonder that he's saying something negative about it. But this is the stuff that's out there that just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Go back and see Bitcoin's rallying just a little bit. It's at around 95.5. Let's see what this poll is doing. Will the U.S. send out Doge checks to U.S. citizens in 2025? So 57% believe that no, that will not happen. So I'm a little bit surprised. So to me, I believe that is a yes, and I actually think it will happen, in the first half of the year. I think they're going to make this happen sooner than later, but 57% of you disagree with that. So the consensus is we think that maybe no, this is not going to happen this year. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. So let's just quickly do this one. So I'm just going to start right here with this and draw a line kind of right in the sand in the middle. $150,000. Is Bitcoin going to get to $150,000 by the end of 2025? We have 10 and a half months left, or 10 and a third months left, to see where Bitcoin goes. Now, a lot of people are talking about an extended cycle, maybe things running into 2026. A lot of people are talking about a super cycle where we just continue to run up for years to come. The other alternative, what has happened in the past, is not just a bear market, but a crypto winter where Bitcoin's down 75 or 80 or 85% from its highs. I do not believe we will ever see that again. It just feels highly unlikely to me, but like I said at the beginning, at the top of the stream, the volatility is real in this space. So you can't just blanketly rule out any level of volatility. Cryptocurrency is still in its infancy. Yes, it's past, we went from stage 0 to stage 1, but most of the growth and growing pains are ahead in the cryptocurrency universe. Having said that, we have an administration that is very crypto friendly. We have a lot of a lot of catalysts that are coming our way that I think are going to allow a lot more money to pile into cryptocurrency universe and, Bitcoin in specific. And you've got major players. You've got the president of the United States talking about Bitcoin, a Bitcoin reserve, or what's the other word they use for it? Not a stash, but I'll think of it. And you've got, many countries around the world. You've got companies around the world talking about that. You have Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, who said that cryptocurrency is its own asset class. I mean, there's nobody left really that says cryptocurrency is not real and it's going away. So that was a big hurdle, because really even in the last cycle, people were still saying this is all meaningless. It's all going to zero anyway, ultimately. So who cares? Well, there's almost nobody left, and there's nobody left of consequence except apparently Peter Schiff and a few friends that think that, this is some kind of Ponzi scheme or something like that, and it's, destined to go away. Jennifer saying Marathon's at $14.80. Yeah, I mean, Marathon under $15 is most of these stocks. If I go down the list, Marathon, according to what I'm looking at here, closed at $14.66. So let's pull up some of these charts. Right, Marathon was at $30 on November 29th. So December, January, just less than 3 months ago, Marathon was over $30. It's now under $15. What has Marathon done in the middle? They have grown their exahash by like 15 exahash in that period of time, which is bigger than almost every other Bitcoin mining company on earth. Just the amount they grew in this 90 days would make them like the 6th biggest Bitcoin miner in the world. So that's just their growth. They're at 53 exahash. They mine more Bitcoin than anybody. They have a total of over 45,000 Bitcoin. Wait till they are reporting on, I believe, I have a little list here, the 26th of this month, so next week. And they are going to have huge gap income, period. So, you can try and slice it up in some way where you say, yeah, but it's not real. No, it's gap is gap. They're going to have income, EBITDA income. They're going to have gap income. They're going to have huge positive cash flow. And this company has tanked. It's down in that time frame. In less than 3 months, it's down 51%. So it has to more than double to get back to where it was in November of 2024, just less than 3 months ago. And they're about to put out the best financial statements they've ever had in the history of their company. So to me, I know, it doesn't look like they were down 8% just today. This does not look like a company that's headed in the right direction. Now, there's some support. I've got a line at $13.75. We really only, look how far back this goes. This goes all the way back to December 2023. So somewhere, around $14 seems to be a really, really solid floor for Marathon. And we're just about at that right now. So unless you think it's going to break to new 52-week lows and beyond, I just don't see that happening. But, who knows? This is why the short-term game to me is so difficult to play. And I know there are some of you that probably make money swing trading these stocks. So, if you've got a good beat on these and you've made money, congratulations. There is money to be made that way. But I'm just a grin and bear it person, right? I'm down 51% in the last 3 months on my Marathon position. And I added to it in that 3 months. I will tell you guys, in this disaster week, The only thing I bought, and I just bought it at the end of the day today, so I actually was going to try and go this week without buying because I think we have a little bit of choppy action ahead of us for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners in the short term. I'm still very bullish for 2025, but I think we're going to be a little bit sideways for a bit. That's just my opinion. So I was not going to do any purchases this week. I've already purchased more than I ever anticipated, but if these break to new 52-week lows, that's what I'm trying to save. If they get outside of a zone where I've dollar cost averaged into, if all of a sudden I can buy Marathon at $12, I'm buying it. If I can buy CleanSpark at $1, I'm buying it. If I can buy Riot at $7, this is what I'm talking about. If these all really do break to the downside and we have another push down, and if they don't, I already own more of all of these than I ever intended to. So for me, everybody's at a different place in their investment journey. My positions are what I would say more than full. So the only thing I bought, I don't think I even have said it yet, is some January 2026 Bitfarm options, $1.50 strike point. So I bought those for 42 cents today. January 2026. $1.50 strike point. So to me, Bitfarms has a year to prove that, they've gotten over the hurdle and put their act together. And so I do have some that expire in May. I have some that expire in August. From this point forward, I'll be buying January 2026 Bitfarms options if the opportunity presents itself, which it did today. I mean, Bitfarms closed at $1.32 today. It got down to $1.30. I mean, you either think these stocks are all dead and going away, or these are buying opportunities. Then obviously it depends what your dollar cost average is and what your investment strategy is. So, please, everybody, obviously do your own due diligence. None of this is financial advice. I'll never tell anybody to buy a stock or sell one. But you guys know what you're doing. All right, let's see what else we got. I want to talk about I'm going to do a few random things just because they were big news. So I want to hit them real quickly. We won't do deep dives into these, but when certain news comes out, it's worth talking about. So really, to me, the biggest news of the week this week, so big, in fact, that I have a hard time believing it. I am very skeptical. I think that's how people should be, cautious, skepticism. Don't let it freeze you from action, but you should view things through a skeptical lens and vet them and verify them. And so I did a deep dive on this after this came out. Microsoft deploys new state of matter in its first quantum computing chip. So that Microsoft declared that they have now changed physics. They now have a particle that is not a solid, it is not a liquid, and it's not a gas. It is some other state of being. So I'm having a little trouble swallowing that. There may be some physicists among you out there that know more about this than I do. I'm having a hard time grasping that concept. And as I did a deep dive on this, there's a lot more obstacles in their way than they are leading on here. So Microsoft's Majorana 1 chip, and this is named after an Italian physicist from the 1930s that invented this theoretical particle. And obviously, it was theoretical that he thought might exist. It's a topological particle that had unique properties unlike any other particle ever discovered by man. So this was theorized a long time ago. So Microsoft claims they've built its first quantum computing chip that creates a new state of matter, which it's referring to as topological state. So now we have solid, liquid, gas, topological. This being the only thing that we know of in the universe that falls into that category. It won't be available through Microsoft's Azure cloud, but it opens the doors to future models with greater capacity that will likely be, an executive told CNBC. So one of the things that they were saying is this was going to greatly accelerate getting quantum computing to market. Because there was talk, the head of CEO of NVIDIA came out and said, we're 10 or 15 years from real practical application on this stuff. And Microsoft's trying to say, no, we've accelerated that. And from all the other research that I can do, it seems like this is no closer than any of the others to having practical applications. So I still think this is a realm of computing that's out into the future. Also, if you do a deep dive on this, these are some of the things that I think this is a bubble, because one of the things that I came across is there's a lot of people that believe by the time we get these things online, our regular computers are basically going to be able to do other than a very small niche few calculations. Our regular computers are going to be already be able to do what a quantum computer can do. So by the time they come to fruition, they may already be obsolete. I'm not saying that's true. We've seen that with many other technologies, though. So I don't know. I'm not a big believer, and even if it does come to fruition, I think we're very far away from it. So I'll see if you guys disagree with me, if you think I'm nuts, if you think I'm a quantum computing denier. Will Bitcoin get to 150,000? That was our last poll that we had. 70 in the year 2025. So 75%, three quarters of you say yes, it will get to 150,000 this year. 25% say no. So that's a pretty positive result. I'm going to up the ante on that and see how much it changes. Okay, so I'm just going to change the wording on this a little bit, give it a little more time frame, but a higher number. Will Bitcoin get to $200,000? But now I'm going to say it's got all of 2025 and all of 2026. So, which, if we assume a normal 4-year cycle, at some point in that range, that's going to be the top of the cycle. Now, if you assume a super cycle where we just keep going up and up and up, that's even better. But what do we think? So is Bitcoin ultimately in this cycle, is Bitcoin going to get to $200,000? And with that, I have an article that talks about this. Okay, so just as we go along the way, get back to what we were talking about, and this is where they said it's crypto hit by the largest hack ever. So, this is one of the reasons we talked about earlier in the stream as to why Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market was having a tough day. This is the largest hack ever as Bybit loses $1.4 billion of Ethereum. And as a result of that, Ethereum dropped and a lot of Ethereum traders got liquidated on top of that. $76 million wiped out in 4 hours through liquidations because of this hack. So a lot of people lost money on that. So this was a tough one. And I don't know what it means for crypto altogether. I don't know what it means for Ethereum in specific going forward. You guys know I've had a lot of skepticism about Ethereum, but it does remain by far in second place. It's still more than double. XRP is now in third place, and Ethereum's a little bit more than double the size of that. But XRP has closed ground on that massively, right? Ethereum used to be 7 or 8 times the size of that. Now it's double that. You've got a massive supply of stable coins, which is an indicator potentially of good things to come for the cryptocurrency universe. But look, in the last week, Solana down 16%. That seems to be having very bearish looking chart right now. It looks like it's hit a double top and it could keep going lower. Who knows? Time will tell. But the 7-day on most of these is not very good. And today, obviously, other than the stable coins, things took a little bit of a beating because of this hack. And I think because of the overall market getting beat down today. If you haven't voted, you can check out the poll. And if you have not hit the like button, if you guys could please, we are now at 90 likes. Our first goal is always to get to 100 likes. It does help the stream out a lot in real time. So if you're joining us, if you're with us, if you just got here, or if you've been here all along, if you'd be so kind as to hit the like button, it would be greatly appreciated. So off of that news, quantum computing stocks rise as Microsoft's new chip heats up debate over technology. So, this is what I'm saying. I think a little bit of bubble is starting to happen with quantum computing. The other thing that's going to happen, and I don't have this article up, but Apple announced they're going to start making their own chips. So I don't know what that means for NVIDIA, but there are a few companies, the list is short, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, that, they can get into the chip game and make their own chips. Right now, they are very dependent on NVIDIA, who is making a fortune. And, congratulate anybody that caught the whole run on NVIDIA. And Ed, I just see Edmund here right now, and I know that he caught most of the run. Oh, sorry. Actually, that was on MicroStrategy. Mixing up stocks there. But for any of you who caught the run on NVIDIA, I mean, it's been unbelievable. So there was a lot of money to be made. I'm not sure how much money there is left to be made. I feel like it's kind of topped out, but wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. Couple of press releases came out this week, mostly just dealing with. So TeraWulf announced that they're going to give us their year-end results, their fourth quarter, December 31st, 2024 results on February 28th, which is 1 week from today, before the market opens. So next Friday, before the market opens, TeraWulf's going to put out their results. I'm hopeful inside of this results, they give us their monthly operational update. Now, obviously, it's on February 28th, so they can't give us the February update, but I'm hoping that they tell us what they did in January. They didn't put a monthly operational update out. A lot of people are saying they've said they're not going to do that anymore at all. So obviously, if they're never going to put out another monthly operational update, we can't have them on our list anymore because we don't know what they're doing, right? Our list is comparing what these companies are doing, and if they're not going to tell us anymore, well, unfortunately, we'll have to take them off the list. I did leave them on the list, so I'll go to that quickly and just show you. I've kind of left a placeholder. So this is the month of January. This is Bitcoin mined by company. I just left a placeholder for TeraWulf because I'm hoping they'll be back and tell us what they do going forward, but we'll see what happens. But whatever their results were, they were almost certainly in the middle of Bitfarms and BitDeer. BitDeer mined 126, Bitfarms mined 201. TeraWulf was probably somewhere in the middle of that, probably closer to the BitDeer side of that. It's not impossible they mined less than BitDeer, but I'm placeholding them in 8th place, which is where they were last month. A couple of things on this list. Riot did pass Iron. So last month, for the first time ever, Iron mined more Bitcoin than Riot. and they were in third place overall. Well, they flip-flopped this month, but you can see they're 6 Bitcoin apart, 527 versus 521. So these two companies are, as far as production going, they're very, very similar. As far as the amount of exahash they have, they're very similar. I will tell you, Iron's growth plans are much sooner than Riot's. So in the same time frame that Riot's looking to get to 38, Iron's looking to get to 50 exahash. So, if that happens, then I think you can expect Iron to move back into third place and hold third place. I believe first and second place are a lock all year. It's CleanSpark and Marathon for the last 13 months have been number 1 and number 2 in the amount of Bitcoin mined and in the amount of exahash that they have. So I don't think anybody's passing them in the near future, but I do think we could see Iron start to give them a run for their money. All right, as they're, looking to head towards 50 exahash, 52 exahash now. This is the latest. Miner Deegan, thank you for the super chat. Tom, Ludovic Thomas wants to contact you. Read the chat. All right. Note of that. I will look into that later. I'm not going to do that live on the stream right now. Is he on the stream right now? Oh, here. How to contact the team. So if you want to just shoot me an email, I can get back to you, after the stream and talk. But thank you, Miner Deegan, for pointing that out. It's hard for me to keep up with the stream, especially when I think we lost him to a conference call for his business. So I'm not sure if he's going to jump back in or not. So unfortunately, when George isn't here, he's usually the one that keeps up with the chat. So I didn't see that. So thank you for pointing that out, Miner Deegan. And thanks for being a member. Iron's the best miner out there at the moment. I mean, Iron's one of my high conviction plays. I have several of these miners that I think are doing a very good job. Their stocks are not necessarily reflecting it at all. So time will tell if their stocks can ever catch up to their operational performance. But, Iron's cost per coin is very low. Iron's another one. They made money. They made money in the fourth quarter. Right, they don't hodl, so they didn't get a big pickup on their mark to market for their Bitcoin because they don't hodl, but they were very cash flow positive. They were gap income, so Iron is doing a good job, and I would expect that to continue and get better. This is what I'm saying. I think people are going to be surprised. The fourth quarter calendar year. It's not everybody's fourth quarter because several of the Bitcoin miners have a fiscal year that's other than a calendar year. But the period ended December 31st, 2024. That quarter, I think you're going to see really good results from a lot of these Bitcoin miners. We've already seen some. I think Hive's results were good. Iron's results were good. CleanSpark's results were phenomenal. And those stocks were not rewarded. So Iron a little bit was rewarded, but the other ones weren't at all. So we'll have to wait. We're going to have to wait and see. And, George at the top of the stream basically said he thinks we got another 90 days of maybe pain. So I don't know. I've gotten out of the short-term guessing game. I still hold my conviction that Bitcoin's going to go where it's going to go in this cycle. I think the Bitcoin miners are going to do their thing in this cycle, but I have learned my lesson that trying to figure out what's going to happen this week or this month or this quarter, to me, it's a fool's errand. Unless you're, if you're swing trading and you've got a good handle on that, then these are great swing trade stocks. But I'm buying and holding because I do think they're going to get where they're going. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. So will Bitcoin get to 200,000 by 2026? A lot less confidence. 75% thought it would get to 150,000 in 2025, but only 41% think it's going to get to 200,000 basically by the top of this cycle. So that's actually a little more pessimistic than previous polls. So I think, this rough week, this rough couple of weeks has brought everybody's expectations down a little bit. That's probably a good thing for now. Iron, lowest cost of production, best efficiency, focusing on growth. So I agree with that. They're reinvesting in themselves. Their cost for energy is very low. Their fleet efficiency is number one out of all the Bitcoin miners. By the way, CleanSparks is number two. So those two have kind of broken away from the pack for now. We'll see if others can catch them. But yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what we're looking for these guys to do. Jennifer saying it's hard when your average is too high. Should have sold at $21. I feel you, Jennifer, but now now that this is all unfolded, but who knew? Right? The price action on the Bitcoin miners has been very irrational. So you can't kick yourself in hindsight. It's a exercise in futility. And if you still, the question you have to ask yourself is, do you still believe that the Bitcoin miners, or, if you, I think, are talking specifically about Marathon, if you think it's going to get back to where it was or beyond, that's your investment equation. Or if you think all is lost and the market's left it behind, then that's your answer. 98 likes. We're just under 100. So let's see if we can get across the finish line before we finish up today. What didn't I get to? There was a bunch of other stuff. Oh, this is worth mentioning because I think it's a big deal. Let me find it. Along the way, let me show you this one. This is how good we are at accounting in the government. U.S. Marshal Service can't say how much crypto it holds. Not because it's a secret, because they can't figure it out. So the agency has been plagued with procedural and organizational issues for years. U.S. Marshal Service cannot confirm how much Bitcoin it holds. It also suffers from serious organizational problems. The agency has tried to remedy this through procurement, but that process is taking years to unfold. For those of you who don't know, the U.S. Marshal Service is the one when assets are seized, it's by the U.S. Marshals. So in particular, all those Silk Road Bitcoin. So the U.S. Marshals is tasked with managing assets seized by law enforcement in the course of criminal investigations like real estate, cash, jewelry, antiques, or vehicles, or in this case, cryptocurrency. It is also supposed to be handling cryptocurrencies, for example, but the billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin seized by the Federal Bureau of Investigation from the darknet marketplace Silk Road in 2023. However, the U.S. Marshal Service doesn't seem to know how much crypto it currently has. In fact, the agency is struggling to come up with a rough estimate of even its Bitcoin holdings. A source familiar with the matter told CoinDesk. So when you see Doge and when you see them trying to dig into departments and get to the bottom of what's going on, how on earth can the U.S. Marshals not know how much Bitcoin they have? To me, that is a gigantic. They have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of employees. They don't know how many Bitcoin they own. I bet you every single one of you watching knows exactly how much Bitcoin you own. That's not what I was looking for, but I had to mention it along the way. This is what I was looking for. Out of there. SEC is poised to drop the Coinbase lawsuit, marking big moment for U.S. crypto. The company says the commission will vote on a deal negotiated by staff to abandon the enforcement case at the core of the agency's previous crypto stance. The Securities and Exchange Commission is said to have agreed to drop the case against Coinbase pending approval from the agency's commissioners, which would represent one of the industry's most consequential SEC legal wins. An SEC decision to completely abandon its accusations that Coinbase was running an unregulated exchange and listing unregistered securities will have deep ramifications for other agency crypto enforcement cases. Beyond that, I would add all of these lawsuits that the SEC and Gary Gensler did against all of these crypto exchanges obviously discouraged anybody from opening a crypto exchange or trying to deal with cryptocurrency at all. Right? This was a part of the debanking process that is being dug into. So, if this case is dropped, there's going to be a lot less resistance and a lot lower barrier for people to get into, cryptocurrency exchanges. And I think 2025 is going to be the year you see the banks getting involved in this. So these are seismic shifts in what's going on in the cryptocurrency world, which is why I said there's a lot of good news ahead, in my opinion. Much more good news than the FUD that they try to throw at us, from time to time whenever they can. And we see somebody saying, man, I don't know how many more days like this that I can take. And that's easy to understand that sentiment. It's, you can't say somebody's right or wrong. It's exhausting. What they've done to the Bitcoin miners has been, these are very difficult stocks to trade right now, even harder than in the last cycle. So, if you're holding on, if you believe, then if that's your investment thesis, that they're still going to do what you thought they were going to do, then you may look at days like today like a buying opportunity. Or you may just say, you know what, I've had enough. I had an exit strategy and we've reached that spot. So, everybody is different. Everyone has a different amount of money. They have a different age that they're at. They have a different wealth that they're at. So, the difference, your strategy has to be appropriate to you and to your mental health, because if this volatility is driving you crazy and you're not sleeping at night, then you probably need to move on, because the volatility doesn't go away with these Bitcoin miners. We have these double-digit days to the upside and to the downside. And, for the foreseeable future, I expect that will be true. Robert Anderson said, I have a pretty full boat, but I added a lot of CleanSpark here, waiting on some others. Yeah, CleanSpark seems like CleanSpark at $9.25. I'm going to go to their chart real quick. Here's another one. CleanSpark's at $9. CleanSpark was at $24 a year ago. In that time, they've quadrupled the size of their business. They have the second most exahash of any company. They have the third most Bitcoin on their balance sheet of any company. They mine the second most Bitcoin every single month. They have the second best fleet efficiency out of any Bitcoin publicly traded mining company. What are they doing wrong? Every metrics that you look at, to me, they're doing a phenomenal job, yet this stock's gone from just under $25 to $9.25. So that's not rational behavior, in my opinion. I did do a deep dive on this last week. If you want to check it out, I go through this in detail, but this stock is down 62%. So, I'm thinking about buying more. Like I said, I already after I thought all my positions were full, I did another round of buying. So, I took a couple months off in the middle, but I may do so again. If they're going to be giving it away like this, it's for me, it's hard to resist, but I understand the flip side is true. For a lot of people, this has been too long. It's too exhausting. They're getting too beaten down and, just mentally just can't do it anymore. So I get it. We're almost at 50-50 now on this vote. Will Bitcoin get to 200,000 by 2026? So we're pretty split on that. We did get to 100 likes, so I want to thank everybody for that. I want to thank everybody for joining the live stream today. I know this was another tough week for the Bitcoin miners. It was a bad day in the market across the board, and that includes Bitcoin, and a really rough day for the Bitcoin miners. So, everybody hang in there. Let's hope that, Bitcoin hangs on over the weekend, and let's hope that the next move is to the upside. I do believe there's a real potential that we're looking at some more sideways price action, but ever the optimist, let's hope the next move is up. So I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Thanks so much for joining. If you're not subscribed yet, consider subscribing to the channel as well. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend. We'll see the members on Tuesday, and we're here for everybody every Friday after the market closes. Thanks again.